Welcome to Capitol Hill Mixtape, presented by RIAA. I'm your host, Tom Cleese. And today I'm very excited to have the opportunity to talk to the Congresswoman from El Paso, Veronica Escobar. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi, Tom. Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. I really appreciate it.
Well, Congresswoman, can you start by just telling us a bit about your story? What was it that led you to public service when you got started? And what's some of the music that will always remind you of that time?
You know, it's so funny that you ask about that, because I'm in full campaign mode. And when I'm in full campaign mode, I always have like a soundtrack that I play. I actually can think about previous campaigns because I served in local office, and the music that I listened to that would really just motivate me, inspire me, and it's seared into my memory. But I initially got into public service in local government out of frustration that local leaders were not ambitious enough for the community. I wanted to see a real bold vision for El Paso and for the border, and I felt that local government was really the place to do it. And I also wanted to see government modernized and reformed and really responsive and used as a vehicle for prosperity and for good. And so I served for over a decade in local government, and it was incredible. It was really the most satisfying work I had ever done to that point. And I was ready to like head off into the sunset, and then decided to run for Congress. And this has been incredibly gratifying and fulfilling as well. And so I think just serving the community that I adore has been such a gift.
So if there is one song that you can tell us about that would be just, one very specific memory from that. So I really want to get into, who would you want to give a shout out to thank you for giving you that energy to not ride off into the sunset and to be here with us, where we're so grateful to have you?
Tom, that is a very unfair question, to pick one song. I have like a soundtrack in my head for the various campaigns, but I'll tell you a group that's been consistent throughout, and they're a group that I grew up with in high school, a group that in fact, I just listened to their full LP as I was making dinner the other night, and I was just like dancing in the kitchen, use it when I'm getting ready to go out on block walks. It's the Go-Go's. And I love the Go-Go's. And there's a couple songs that always just get me moving. I've listened to them before I go on a debate or before I've gone out and knocked on doors. One of them is Head Over Heels. It's such a great song. It's like just, very much a song about, the everything that you've wanted that is caught up to you, and you're kind of head over heels, and it's overwhelming, but it's exciting. The other really cool song from the Go-Go's that I love is called Get Up and Go, and it's got this great percussion, and it really kind of just gets you moving. But I've got a whole long list. When I launched my congressional campaign, I created this playlist for folks to listen to before I got there, as folks were gathering and signing up to volunteer. And in fact, I printed it out and brought it. It's a very cool playlist. But at the end of my speech, I gave this speech about why I was running and the fight that we had up ahead, and the work that we needed to do to really just make sure that America got back on track. And as soon as I was done, the song that then we played after my big finale was the Beatles' Revolution, with that great scream and the guitar riff. So I've got, a great long list of faves.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know it's unfair. I had a friend text me the other day saying, I'm putting together a playlist. What's one song you would want me to put on it? And I sent him back like 7. So I know completely that everybody gets that latitude when it comes to making their personal playlist. So I also wanted to see if we could talk a little bit more about the leadership you've shown in your community and some of the songs associated with that. You have been a member of Congress in one of the most intense Congresses from a national perspective, but there's also been a lot of things that have happened in a local perspective for El Paso. And I wanted to see if you could share a little bit of your story there.
The last 2 years have been two of the hardest years for my community. Immediately upon being sworn in January 2019, that was on the heels of two migrant children dying in U.S. custody here in this sector. And then what we saw over the subsequent months was a growing humanitarian crisis as people were fleeing their homeland and arriving in our community. And there was a lot of trauma associated with that because this is the site of family separation. This is where those babies first got separated from their families. We were unfortunately the testing ground. We were also the site of some of the most inhumane holding conditions that we have seen in our generation by the American government. And so, the community rose up to offer care and comfort to these families, to offer hospitality and goodwill. But it was hard to live through that because there was just so much pain associated with all of that. And then, months later, on August 3rd of 2019, a domestic terrorist drove to our community and confessed to wanting to kill Mexicans and immigrants. That was his purpose. He wrote about it, he confessed to it, drove over 10 hours in order to do it. And it was really one of the most devastating occurrences in El Paso history. It was one of the deadliest targeted attacks against Latinos in modern American history. And so there was just trauma upon trauma in our community. As you ask about all of that happened, and I've had this conversation with you all, but right after the attack, there was this beautiful memorial that was created above the Walmart where the attack happened. And tens of thousands of flowers, candles, photographs, mementos, crosses, rosaries, signs. Like, it just became this gathering for the community. Every single day there was traffic, lines of traffic of El Paso families coming to mourn together and come together. And there was a song that was played over and over again, day after day, that really kind of became El Paso's song and became our song of pain, but also our song of healing. And it's a song by Juan Gabriel, who is a local hero, celebrity, the singer of that song, called Amor Eterno, eternal love. And it is really one of the most beautiful but heartbreaking songs you will ever hear about the loss of a loved one and the inability to get past it. Oh, it's even, hard for me still to talk about it. And whenever I hear that song, that's the beauty of music. It is so evocative and powerful. And I can't hear that song or even obviously talk about it without having that deep connection to the pain, but also the beauty of the unity and the beauty of the love that our community shares. And so it will forever be El Paso's song.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Congresswoman. I have to say, even in the time when I was a Hill staffer, I remember seeing every time one of these mass shootings would happen, one of these domestic terror events would happen, you don't know what to say. And, communications offices, they try to come up with the best tweet, the best post, the best way to just try to be there for the community. And I even had to write a couple of those, and there's never a way to express it. And so to see leaders like you be there in person, on the ground, showing leadership and showing, more importantly, compassion and empathy for your community has been inspiring to see it from a distance. And thank you for sharing that story with us. Is there anything you're working on now? It doesn't have to be on the big issues of gun control. It doesn't have to be on COVID relief or any of the major things. Is there just something that is a passion project for you that you're proud of that you want to share with folks today?
We obviously have an election coming up, and not to in any, I don't want to make this a partisan issue, but I've been really working on civic engagement in general for my community. The border has been targeted in a way that I just described to you. It's been targeted by terrible public policy that I also mentioned. And we've been depicted for a long time as a place to be feared or as a place to be controlled. And it is such a place of beauty and opportunity and a place of safety and security. And in many ways represents the best of America. I've described our community, and many of us describe my community as the new Ellis Island. And so one of my passions, aside from the work on gun violence prevention, on expanding healthcare, on comprehensive immigration reform, on the climate crisis, which we've done a lot of work on in my district to get folks engaged, my general view is I want to create lots of avenues for and opportunities for civic engagement so that we can, all of us, not just the leaders of my community and border communities, all of us can retake the narrative about who we are, where we are, what we represent, and really use our civic power to lead all of us. And so that is what most excites me about the work here on the ground in the community, and engaging everyone and making sure that we have a vibrant democracy as a result. It's what gives me a lot of joy and a lot of excitement.
Congresswoman from El Paso, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for staying El Paso strong. We hope we have the opportunity to see you again. This is Capitol Hill Mixtape. I'm Tom Cleese, and we'll see you soon.